Welcome to Chapter 17, where we will discuss job order costing. This first video will be a quick overview of cost accounting systems and how and what they're used for. The main purpose of a cost accounting system is to measure, record, and report the product costs. Now remember from our previous chapter, product costs are our direct materials, direct labor, and our overhead. All of those costs we need to capture so that we have an idea of what our final product costs. The two main types of cost accounting systems for manufacturing companies will be a job order cost system, which is what this chapter covers, and process costing. Now, a job order cost system captures those product costs usually by companies that are manufacturing custom type products or unique products or batches of similar products. Home builders are a good example of a company that would use a job order cost system. Apparel manufacturers, guitar manufacturers are the examples that the book uses. A process cost system are for those manufacturing companies that typically are manufacturing the same product over and over and over again. Food processors is an excellent example of that. Just think of Lay's potato chips. They are doing the same process over and over. They may add different flavorings, but for the most part, that process is very similar. The same types of raw materials are going in to the manufacturing process. The same machinery is being used, the same labor is being used, and the only difference may be adding different flavors. So from one month to the next, their production process is very similar. Now, the purpose of a job order cost system, again, is to record and summarize all of our manufacturing costs on a job-by-job basis. So the jobs, an order will come in, and that job is very unique and very specific to that customer. When jobs are in the production process, again, they can be 1% complete or 99% complete. They are sitting in your work in process inventory, and they keep accumulating any costs, whether they be more direct materials that get added or any labor that gets added. They will absorb their share of overhead, all while they are being completed. Once that job is finished, all of those costs that have been accumulated are now finished goods inventory. And by finished goods, that means it is done, it is complete, it is ready to go out onto that showroom floor or be delivered to the customer. When the goods are sold, all of those costs become cost of goods sold. The same way that a merchandiser, when that piece of inventory is sold, all of the cost of that inventory, the purchase price, any freight or that was incurred or insurance to get that inventory delivered to them, all of that cost becomes cost of goods sold. Okay, it works the same way. It just takes manufacturing companies a little bit longer to accumulate all of those costs to their inventory. So here's a good visual of the flow of our manufacturing costs, again using our guitar example. First is our materials storeroom. That's where all of our raw materials are kept. So materials inventory, again, that is raw materials. That's all of the raw wood, the guitar strings, the sandpaper, any of the adhesives or stains or paints. all of that is raw materials inventory. When a customer calls in for an order, they're going to custom order their guitar. They will tell you exactly the type of wood they want and so forth. The materials will then be pulled out of raw materials inventory. So that inventory, that raw materials inventory will be decreasing, but now you have a job in process. So the raw materials have now changed shape. They have become new inventory. They're no longer raw materials, they are now work in process. All of the costs associated with building that guitar will accumulate now in work in process. Any labor that is attributable to that specific job will go into that as direct labor or indirect labor. When the job is finished, all of the materials, all of the labor involved, their share of overhead gets added into that job. That total cost gets moved now into finished goods. So now it has changed shape again. It is a new inventory piece. It is finished goods inventory. So we can see how our product costs move through inventory. And as I mentioned in the previous chapter, those product costs are also called inventoriable costs. And this is why you can see those costs being changed from raw materials to work in process and finally to finished goods. Finished goods are your product ready to sell. Once that product is sold, all of those costs then are converted to cost of goods sold. The inventory is credited to show that inventory has moved out of your building, it is gone, and all of its costs now have been expensed to cost of goods sold. In this job order system, we will have subsidiary ledgers for things like our materials, our work in process, and our finished goods inventory. And what I mean by subsidiary ledgers, here's an example. So on my balance sheet, I will have raw materials inventory with $2,000 sitting in there as my balance. But that $2,000 inventory is made up of different types of raw materials. And again, our example, I may have $1,000 worth of maple raw materials, $500 worth of oak, and maybe $1,500 worth of hickory. So I will have subsidiary ledgers underneath my raw materials listing exactly how much I have of each type of inventory. Same for work in process. My work in process inventory may have a balance of $5,000, but that $5,000 work in process could represent 3, 4, or 800 different jobs that are in any stage of completion. I will have a job cost sheet for each job that is in process. And those jobs, all of them should total my work in process inventory. After a job is completed, it gets moved out of work in process inventory and gets put into finished goods inventory. Which again, behind that finished goods inventory total, I will have each individual job listed with all of their costs listed together. All right, next video is going to walk through a detail of materials inventory and how that is tracked. So stay tuned for that.